This episode of the Totally Rad Show is brought to you by HostGator. Coming up, a new Steven Soderbergh movie starring an MMA fighter. We check out the movie Haywire.
Today in movies, we're talking about Haywire from director Steven Soderbergh. From independent films, Steven Soderbergh. He's the guy who invented modern independent cinema with Sex, Lies, and Videotape. And he's made movies across genre, across the board.
Is he retiring?
No. Well, first of all, let's just talk about if anyone ever says they're retiring ever in anything, I don't care and it doesn't matter and it doesn't matter.
But secondly, that was supposedly...
second of all, I didn't hear that, but maybe he said that.
No. It was when he was shooting Contagion with Matt Damon. They were having beers and he said, I should retire after this.
Article. Yeah.
And Matt Damon was like, ha ha ha, and said something jokingly in an interview, and then the press took it and were like, Steven Soderbergh says he's retiring from film, and then he's like, oh yeah.
Anyway.
I knew you guys would know.
So, Haywire stars Gina Carano and not an MMA, a female, go ahead.
Yeah, she was a female MMA fighter.
And female MMA fighter, one of the most popular, or
if not,
the one.
She may very well be the most.
She's the one.
Her and Chris Cyborg are the two top, like, Strikeforce, Showtime Strikeforce women's.
She's a cyborg, so that's not fair.
It is not fair, actually. If you see her, it's not fair.
And she's not an actress. This is her first role. She plays a government spook agent who is...
I don't like that term.
Do they not? Is that derogatory?
It's derogatory towards undercover government agents. She's going to cry herself to sleep and then kill you.
Oh, boy. All the hate mail I'm going to get from those undercover, from anonymous and anonymous.
And
anonymous.cia.gov.
Like, what is this letter?
I know. Red dot.
Amazing.
Anyway, she plays an undercover agent who is double-crossed and then has to go for revenge. It's actually, whatever. It's similar to many other movies, many other spy stories.
True that.
Alex.
Yes.
Oh, you teased me. I was so ready.
I wasn't ready.
What'd you think of Haywire? MMA enthusiast Alex, as they just saw.
Yes, Bas Rutten was actually at our screening, which blew my mind.
You love Wire and you love Hay.
I love Wire and Hay. I'm a horseman who likes The Wire on HBO. So Haywire is built for me. So I was a little concerned, obviously, because it's like whenever you have that situation where it's somebody who
isn't like in one thing.
Isn't an actor or an actress. It's very hard for me because a lot of times it's not a good thing.
He sort of already did this too with what's her name?
Experience.
The Girlfriend Experience, which I really disliked that movie. I remember not liking that movie. I remember not liking her. So that. And I thankfully didn't even put
short work.
I didn't even put two and two together that I should have felt this way about Haywire. But that said, I will say this movie starts out and all of the things that I felt were so fake in Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol when the girls fought and it really looked like and you can shoot it as many ways as you want. That stuff is not happening. Those models are not fighting. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't hide their high heels somewhere and they're fighting over them.
If I wanted to see models fight, I'd watch Project Runway.
Starts out and the first fight sequence you go, I totally understand why he cast her because she kicks Channing Tatum's ass and it looks like she actually kind of hurt Channing Tatum.
Well, he said, remember at Comic-Con?
I know, he was like,
she kicked my ass.
She kicked his ass. And she really
She actually
does.
had Michael Fassbender.
She did with the vase on the head. And the thing is, when you get to that level of realism, I mean, the fight between her and Michael Fassbender was visceral. I mean, it were moments where I was like, I can't believe this is happening. And she gets her own, and there's a couple scenes where I'm like, I think the dude is a stuntman. You know what I mean? There were a couple moments where I was like, I know that's her, because that looks exactly like, I think the dude might have been a stuntman. That's badass. And the story is totally serviceable for that. It totally fills the gaps in between fists and face.
Highest order of compliment.
Alex just got his poster quote.
Yeah,
But you know what I mean?
The story is serviceable.
But to be honest, it's
For
like,
that.
for me, I really enjoyed this movie. I thought she did a great, for somebody who's never done a movie before, she did great. She doesn't, the one thing I found really interesting where there were moments where I was like, I am so in love with, she is gorgeous, she looks amazing, and then there are other scenes where I was like, she's just a girl. She's just a woman. She's not, somebody who loses 150 pounds. Somebody who loses 30 pounds and weighs 100 pounds and looks like if you sit on her, she might disappear up your anus. That's not where I was going with that, but that's what came out. She looks like a woman.
You think that a lot? When you see ladies?
Depends upon how small they are.
And how much I want to sit on them.
How much I want to sit on them. There was one Santa Claus once that had that feeling. Anyway.
I think I saw Sasha Grey's movie about that, actually.
Yeah, right. But so I really was satisfied with this movie. I had a really great time watching it, and boy, those fight sequences. I mean, by the end, I was like, I'm watching the female version of Commando.
Interesting.
I
of
want
the face.
that to be a compliment, but yeah.
When we saw the stuff about this at Comic-Con, I remember saying, this is a Cynthia Rothrock movie made by an actually good filmmaker. Right? What if
you are going to diss Cynthia Rothrock, right?
No. What if a great filmmaker like Steven Soderbergh and awesome actors like Antonio Banderas and Ewan McGregor and Michael Fassbender, all these people came together and basically made a really genre Cynthia Rothrock movie.
Is that how you felt the movie was?
That's what I thought at Comic-Con, right?
Yeah.
I think what they thought they were making was the Bourne Identity with a woman as Bourne. Mm-hmm. They thought they were making awesome Bourne Identity type movie. And unfortunately, it's a Cynthia Rothrock movie made by a really good filmmaker. I don't think that the story of what we see is worth the talent of the people involved. There's not much to it. There's nothing to it. And one of the very first conversations you and I ever had when we first met was talking about how sometimes action movies, especially genre action movies, even like Hong Kong action movies especially, are kind of like porn, which is odd because we were talking about porn in this episode, but where you're sort of just waiting around for the action bit, right? And I really thought I wasn't going to be doing that in this movie. But the action bits, well, the movie is so concerned with being understated and not making anything special out of it. Like especially the sound effects even are like, there's no Hollywood punch sounds. The camera movements are it's brutal. It's brutal, but it's not heightened in any way. It's very understated and very just sort of matter of fact and about its business, right? Which, at first, because the fights are so brutal and some of them are so good, it's fascinating. I'm seeing a woman really take down these guys in a very efficient way. But especially the end of the movie and the last couple of fights, which are supposed to be the big climax of the movie, I think the efficiency, it just kind of takes away from anything that, it doesn't feel momentous. It doesn't feel like an action film. It's so blue collar in what it's trying to do. And I think very intentionally that it just doesn't, I was never excited. I was just sort of seeing a very matter-of-fact, day-to-day, like this is how it would really be. Which is clearly what they intended to do, but it just didn't leave me feeling excited. And the story wasn't very interesting, and ultimately the fights weren't even that interesting. They were great to start with and brutal, but by the end it just sort of was like, yeah, she runs up behind a guy and hits him in the head, because that's what you would do.
Right.
But there's no sizzle.
Yeah.
There's no zhuzh,
Interesting.
as Dan would say.
Or Emerald.
The hairstylist?
So,
Kick it up a notch, isn't that what he says?
Or Vidal.
Bam.
Yeah.
All right, so what did you think, Dan?
The fight sequences are incredible. There's been a trend in I think every director who wants to make a fight sequence, sort of since the first one, comes to the table and says, I'm gonna be the guy who makes every punch matter, who does, if we're really in a fight, it's really, I remember Quentin Tarantino talking about Kill Bill, thinking like, I thought about every punch, why every punch was thrown, is this, and it always comes across the same. This movie finally gets to that holy grail where it's still a dance, it's still, the choreography is incredible and exciting to watch, yet it is like, that's how it would be. That is like the most realistic depiction of a fight.
It's like the shortest distance between 2 points.
Right.
Like her goal is to take him down, and there's no, they cut the fat. It's like she just did everything that she needed to do to take him down.
Absolutely. The Bourne movies, attempt to, wait, this is a real, but the Bourne movies still operate in a very traditional way, and Steven Soderbergh oftentimes, not all the time, but so often is trying to be counterculture and I'm gonna strip it of what is normally there in a movie. And it made those fight sequences absolutely incredible, some of the best ever. When you're compiling the year 2000, whenever someone's making their YouTube mashup video of the best fight scenes ever, like half of this movie has to be on that, or you're just kidding. So
unfortunately, it's the first half. I think.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna agree with you on something, but that's just not one scene.
Ooh, I can't wait to find out what.
No. Not that I don't agree with what you're saying, but I agree with you in that it's a very light movie. There's nothing to the story. I was reading about them, and they were about the filmmakers, and they were talking about how they're making a really character-oriented thing. And I found that so odd because there's very little character in the movie. There's very little character development in the movie. There's very little story. There's a lot of plot. The plot isn't that complicated. It actually
serviceable. You wouldn't call it serviceable.
I would. It actually would be very comparable to Drive because, like Drive, it's very deconstructionist in how it's made. It deconstructs the fight scene, all that stuff. But Drive has a soul, and this movie doesn't have a soul. And the thing that's interesting.
That's a good point.
As much as I thought Gina Carano did an excellent job.
Yeah.
I thought she did an excellent job.
For someone who's not an actress.
And she's asked to do some acting. She's not just there to fight.
Oh, no, yeah.
She's great. But I do wonder if it was a really compelling actress in that role, is if there would have been a soul. If there would have been nuances to things that, the way we talk about Tom Cruise, and there's the way he, handle and he humanizes those big spy things.
Dreamy. Totally dreamy.
He's dreamy. There could have been, anyway.
Yeah.
What's fascinating to me about that, though, is that, you think that a filmmaker like Steven Soderbergh would, you think it's the opposite of what you'd expect. It's what you were talking about at Comic-Con. You think that this would be all story, all character development, and the action scenes get slighted. And instead, there's no, it's like he was so he was so understated that there was nothing there.
There's these
And the end, I just gotta say, this is me agreeing with you, is that the semi-climactic fight sequence on a beach.
Oh yeah.
Is awful, and it's so interesting how when you're making a film that isn't trying to be traditional, that is an independent film, but I hate saying that because there's so many independent movies are traditional. But if you're making a non-traditional movie, from the Pulp Fictions to the Clerks to the to Slumdog Millionaire, not Slumdog, Trainspotting or whatever, you're always a hair's breadth away from feeling like a student film. If you walked in the room, if you didn't, and that's what makes these guys so great artists, is because sometimes they are like student films, but because they're they're so daft at their craft, you don't think that, because you're like, wow, that's really smart, that choice.
Spank the Monkey or something. Spanking the Monkey?
Yeah. The David O. Russell movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, that's
your go-to.
Basically a student film that elevated beyond its student filmness.
Clerks is quintessential, but but that sequence.
Yeah, that was the worst sequence in the whole movie.
Was
but she
bizarre.
also I think it might have been a reshoot, because she almost looked like she was a different. I mean, this was one of the things that it looked like she was probably 15 to 20 pounds heavier than she was throughout the entire movie in that one fight scene. So I'm wondering if that was something where they had edited it together and it was like, this doesn't work. So then they were a little bit loosey-goosier with the fight choreography.
There's also these there's at least 2 points where it's a chase sequence, and it's literally, and again, I get it, it's exactly what a chase would be, where I'm running from you and you're running from...
I loved that.
Yeah.
But it isn't anything. There's nothing.
There's a Korean movie called Nowhere to Hide that had... It was a chasing where the cop was chasing the criminal, and it led into a long take where you're just with the cop and they're just running out of breath, and the shot lasts the whole length. And it
But
reminded
that wasn't even that. It was just sort of...
No, but then it ended. But then she took him down. And by the way, rooftop, she's literally, there's no wires, there's no anything. She's just running across the room.
but there isn't...
I thought that was exciting. And the lack of score, often there was some score, but for the most part, lack of score. I thought it was really cool in the fight scenes, but the drama being pared down and understood. It was what?
Yeah. Overall, I was very disappointed. It was
bizarre.
Because I had really high hopes.
I mean, I didn't have any hopes.
Those action scenes were so good
I
that
think
it overpowered.
Yeah.
But if we did not have those action scenes,
but it
would have
did.
been but a bizarre that filmmaker. Anyway, just really fascinating movie. But
Explosion.
Explosive.
All right, everybody, be sure to stick around. We're going to be answering one of your Twitter questions right after this. But first, we want to thank our sponsors, HostGator.com. HostGator can get your blog or website up and running in just minutes with plans starting at just $3.96 a month. You'll get 24/7 support, access to website building tools with over 4,000 templates. They'll even migrate your current site over to their sites for free. Servers are 130% powered by wind energy, so bonus, environment. You get unlimited disk space and bandwidth, 45-day money-back guarantee, plus you'll get $100 Google AdWords credit to market your new site. For Revision 3 viewers, which you all are, HostGator is offering 25% off your order or your first month completely free. Just go to TotallyRadShow.com. Just go to TotallyRadShow.com and keep watching shows. And then go to HostGator.com and enter the code TotallyRadShow at checkout.
Yowza!
Yowza,
Hey, we
yowza.
got cool new shirts and sweatshirts, right, Dan?
We do.
We do, Alistair.
What? Nobody say water.
Yeah, exactly.
And never say, I don't know.
No, I don't know, yeah.
Well, we do know. Jinx.com/TRS. We got new swag. Go check it out. We'll see you tomorrow.
Go it out.
Join us tomorrow for Secret Identity.
Today's Twitter question comes to us from @Mike Gonzalez. Have you ever had a desire to live abroad?
Oh, yes.
If so, where? Jeff? The answer was, oh yes, I saw that.
Paris and London are in my heart, but there's many places that I've never even visited before that I imagine I would love to live in. I mean, I've done far too little traveling in my life. I want to see much more of the world, and my desire to see the world isn't vacationing. It isn't go for a week and see the sights and go through the travel log. I always long for that. Like, I want to live there for a month. I want to live there for 4 months. I want to have a year there. So I really ingrained and feel what it's like to actually live in these places, man. I would love, I'd love to live in Croatia for a year. It's like some.
Yeah.
I would love to just experience that.
We threatened to move to France for 2 months this year, which we're still thinking about it. We're still thinking about it, me and my fiance. Daniel Trachtenberg?
I think London is the correct answer. I really want to visit Asia, Hong Kong, so I can't, having not
Tokyo
been there.
Awesome.
I lived in Japan for
How
a
do
short
I
time.
say that's right? Yeah, dude, that, so.
You were like Tokyo Drift.
I don't know, I don't know if I'd want to live there because I haven't been there, but I love that.
Yeah, I think the goal, one of my goals in life had always been to be able to sort of be set in my career enough that it wasn't so specific as to where I lived, so that I could have a place in either London or Paris, or I could have a place somewhere else and sort of live in multiple places, which would be amazing.
One of the things that I've gotten into recently really heavily is watching House Hunters International.
Oh, I love that.
It's
That's
like
why
wish
I went
fulfillment.
That's why I went to Ireland.
You watch it and you go, oh my God,
like
these
$10.
houses. No, some of them are super expensive, like the London episode.
Yeah,
but I love how they're not all like in the big famous city. It'll be like, oh, this place I've never heard of that's
It's usually Toronto.
50 miles.
Regular House Hunters is like a Canadian
regular
show.
House Hunters
House
International.
International.
Yeah,
That's
come
where the joint is. Thank you very much.
It's so ridiculous to see people that live anywhere but LA and New York, any
and
major
London
city.
and Paris.
I know.
And Tokyo.